All right, we're sitting here for a new episode with somebody who is actually a previous guest in episode 223, and that's William Redheffer, also known as just plain Red, and that's what we're going to call you tonight. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me today.
Man, it's been 5 years, is that right?
Yeah, just about 5 years.
So if anybody rewinds and goes back to episode 223, you're going to find a very weird, especially on YouTube, you're going to find a weird episode because we had like, I don't know, 8 hosts at that date, and we're all sitting there, and everybody wants to get a word in, and you're being attacked from all fronts, and of course, my buddy from Wales is actually there as well, so you didn't understand a thing he said.
That's correct. I was trying to be very professional and polite, and I just smiled and nodded quite a lot of his questions.
It's awesome. I can't wait to actually tell him that as well. So let's go back and do a little bit of a recap or rewind about where you came in from and what you served in on active duty, because we're going to hit what happened since the past 5 years, which is pretty exciting as well. So
yeah, lots happened. So we'll get into that. But to recap the 223 episode, basically I came from Philadelphia area, had no plans of ever joining the military, of ever being a cop. Kind of surprised that I am where I'm at now. It's pretty cool. But after 9/11, realized that a family member was killed at the World Trade Center. So it changed everything, complete 180-degree life change. And then you'll hear in the old episode that I've tried the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Philadelphia detectives. I got denied all of them for one reason or another. But it's a pretty funny story if you give it a listen. And eventually I was ordered to the Army recruiter by my dad. I didn't want to go, and thought I had an 18X contract, which probably wasn't even true. I have no idea. And I had an option 40 contract. So I did it. I went there. We started with 360 applicants. We graduated with 32 Rangers. Me and my buddy Chris Green went to 175. And while I was there, my first assignment was Carl Gustav ammo bearer, and worked my way up through that. The Goose team, became a machine gunner, was a machine gunner for a while. And then I went to the line, was a grenadier, and then worked my way up to Alpha team leader. With the Rangers, I had 4 deployments, 2 Iraq, 2 Afghanistan. And then after that, went over to Fort Carson, became a combatives instructor. So I went through all 3 levels of combatives, became a master combatives instructor under the tutelage of Ayako Khalili and Steve Martin.
Good one.
Yeah. Big name drop there.
Yeah.
And those guys not only taught me combatives, jiu-jitsu, fighting, but just how to talk to folks. Like it was such a great transition going from active duty to the civilian world. So yeah, then I got out after maybe 6 years, 9 months, 24 days.
You counted them down. I love it. About?
Yeah. Plus or minus. So yeah, got out and went back to the Philadelphia area, and ended up moving back into my parents' house as I was closing on my house with my to-be wife. Went right into the National Guard, did my time there as did some platoon sergeant time. Then ended up going to sniper school, became the sniper reconnaissance platoon sergeant, did that for a bit. And then I was kind of comparing everything to Ranger Regiment versus the National Guard. And God bless the National Guard. It was great, but I was comparing too much. And it was like, it's not the same. So I needed a complete change of azimuth. So somebody told me about civil affairs, and I'm like, what is that? And they gave me a description. I'm like, well, that sounds pretty dumb. And they were like, but you jump out of airplanes. And I was like, ooh, that's scary. I'll do that. So like whatever scares me, I should probably do that. So I did that, did civil affairs for a while, did some stuff for them, some atmospheric, some key leader engagements. Actually had a really good time in civil affairs, did a lot of jumping with them. And then while that was happening, I became a cop. So now I'm a cop, SWAT team dude. And, but I'm also like a patrol guy. So I do both, dual hat. And civil affairs. Oh, and then I joined special operations detachment.
Yeah, so let's get
much where it.
Yeah, so let's get up to the point of that point, because I think that was around the time frame where you were in SWAT was when we wrapped up, and that was kind of like that's it.
Yeah,
and we didn't go any further than that because that was your life at that point. Mm-hmm. So rewinding back and everything, when you got into like the National Guard. You mentioned it wasn't, and you were comparing that to Ranger Regiment. Did you ever deploy with them as a unit?
The National Guard, no. So funny enough, I was supposed to, and we were supposed to go to like Ali Asaline or whatever, Kuwait, whatever it's called. And I talked to my first sergeant at the time, and I told him how I started my business, how I started ATAC, a small group one-on-one firearms instruction. And he was like, well, you're starting a new business, you need money. And I'm like, yeah, I figured, let's save some money while we're over there doing our thing. And he's like, well, no, you need to make real money. And I was like, oh,
he's not wrong.
Yeah. So he's like, look, dude, with your experience and what you've done, you should be doing a contracting job. And I was like, all right, bet. So I reached out to all my boys who contracted, and they were all telling me to go to Z, Blackwater, whatever they were called at the time, put in my application. They played a funny little game, and I just wasn't patient for it. And I ended up jumping on with another contract, a different company. Got hired by them. I got certified for WIPS, World Protective Service, which is bodyguard and emergency response team. And within a month, I was in Kabul, Afghanistan. Actually, I was right next to that gate that blew up. What was that gate?
Was it
Sully Gate? Was it Sully?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like where I lived. So I ended up doing 2 4-month rotations with those guys. And the company I was working for wasn't all that great. I'm not going to bash them too much. I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds me. But I had a day off, and I was at the airport, and I ran into 2 other Rangers I know. And they're like, dude, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm working for this company at the embassy. It's okay. I did some emergency response stuff. Met some really good dudes, really some guys I still keep in contact with today. And then I did some bodyguard stuff, which was it was really boring.
Everybody's expecting you to say it was really cool.
Yeah, being a bodyguard, if you're doing it right, it's really boring. So I guess I was doing my job. So yeah, I ran into my buddy at the airport. There used to be like a bazaar at the airport, and it had like all these flags and stuff. It was really cool. You buy like carpets and stuff with the name Afghanistan misspelled. It was hilarious. And so I told them what was up, and they're like, dude, why don't you work with us? And I'm like, yes. So because they told me, like, you're going to make more, you're not going to have to work as much, you get to grow a giant beard and work out all the time. Like, yes. Like, when will I sign? So that day, like, I quit my job. I flew out, went to Dubai, hung out for the weekend, flew back into country, went right to work. And I was up there at that camp. I'm not going to mention the name. I was there for 4 months, and I was there for 2 rotations of different Ranger battalions and some other agencies. And I was helping out with other organizations, helping them with pistol work. That was like that's my big go-to is pistol work. And had a great time with those dudes. Masters, he was a first sergeant at the time. He's a sergeant major now. His name's been mentioned multiple times on this podcast. Dude is a legend. Some of the things I've heard him say to his men is just like chills, like just so profound. Like, this is the epitome of leadership. Like, amazing dude. So I was honored to work with that guy. So yeah, I did that stuff in Afghanistan. That ended, so I headed on home and went back to being policeman and civil affairs dude. And I didn't talk about that last time because I forget stuff. Probably been blown up too many times. I don't know. Brain damage.
Well, you did mention about ATAC, and you were just starting it, I want to say, at that time frame. It was about maybe a year in the making or something of that nature?
Yeah, something like that. It happened as a result of me getting fired from the Air Force for making fun of them on social media because I was teaching them tactics. Yeah.
Is that how it started?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I was waiting in line at the base, and I saw like they're doing PT in the morning. You think, military men, PT, push-ups, sit-ups, run. No, these dudes were playing ultimate frisbee and power walking. And I was like, no way. And I'm bored because I'm in the line. So I take a picture. I posted on Facebook, and by the end of the day, the squadron commander wanted my head on a spike. I was like, oh, so I was done ski. So I was like, screw it, I'll start my own company. So that's how ATAC started.
Well, I mean, to be fair, across services, ultimate frisbee and power walking is happening in all branches, I believe now. So
get out of here. You're serious. You're dead serious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. How about them Bears?
Yeah. Yeah. Saw in Ranger Battalion yesterday, 175's Ultimate Frisbee.
No, you didn't see it at 175.
No, I didn't see
Okay, I was going to say.
He was just trying to make everybody else feel better.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, you mentioned about legends. I mean, while you were there at 175, we were name dropping prior to the episode. There are a lot of really great leaders who came out of that program. I mean, there's out of a lot of the unit, Ranger Regiment guys and everything. There's been a lot of really popular names, but I mean, it's really cool when you can say that you were a part of an organization at any given time that is breeding leadership and leaders that go on to do amazing things. It doesn't matter whether it's Ranger Regiment, whatever it is. It's an amazing, you were at the right place at the right time.
100%.
Think about all those people that go into the military and they get out because they never get that.
Yeah.
They never have those leaders.
Yeah, yeah. I was blessed to come in at a time of just amazing leadership. You're absolutely correct. And still to these days, like these dudes still influence me to this day. Like without even like, I'll just follow him on social media and be like, damn, he's still getting at it. Love that dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of that leadership was grown late 90s, early 2000s. Before the country really knew that we were in conflict.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what you get is, jump into the 2000s, you get some great people.
Yeah.
So now let's go into SOD.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what have you been doing since the 5 years? Let's start it off at that path because there's some great things that we want to get into, not just of your history, but more along the topic of what we want to get into.
Yeah. So after civil affairs, we were jumping with these other units in Maryland. I didn't really know who they were. I know SF was there, so I knew I was jumping with those dudes. We had our civil affairs guys, and we had some others. I never really knew who the others were. And I remember I was talking with this guy, and we're just shooting the breeze before a jump, and I'm like, hey, man, my name's Red, whatever. And we're going back and forth, and it's like, so what do you do? He's like, I'm the command sergeant major, and I'm in full I jump up at parade rest, and I was like, I'm sorry, Sergeant Major. He's like, bro, chill. My name's Pat. Your name's Red. Sit down. And I'm like, Roger, Sergeant Major. He's like, Pat. Right. So at the end of that day, he's like, hey, man, how about you cross-train with us? And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea.
So describe what SOD is first.
So it's a special operations detachment consisting of very high ranking. So it's a Green Beret command at an 06 level. So Colonel is in charge of it. And it's a very small organization. I can't go into exact details.
Sure.
But it's basically like a staff type, like a TSOC or something like that. They'll fill in there. Very unique characters. Very high end on both their civilian and their military profession. But very high ranking. You won't be surprised to see E7 and a sergeant major to clean out the toilets, like, because there's nobody low ranking. Like,
man, that sucks.
Yeah, it really does. I'm like, give me a private. Oh wait, I'm a master sergeant private. Like, yeah. So, I've been in that unit for just up until recently. But it was a great unit, and because of the size, we could really focus on each other, and we understood everybody's personalities. And then when the riots broke out across the country, like as a policeman, like I obviously had to respond to that, and it was horrific. I don't really want to go into the details of that, but I showed up to drill the following weekend, and my actions officer, warrant officer CW3 Heidi Kester. She saw me and like immediately she's like, Red, what is wrong? She's like, I've never seen this side of Red. And I was like, well, ma'am, like I just seen the entire town burn to the ground. I just seen society collapse in front of my eyes for this community that this area that I serve. And I just feel heartbroken. Like, I can't believe this is happening in my country. Like, I've been in riots before in Afghanistan, but like seeing it right in front of you, I was like, it was heartbreaking. And like right there, she's like, do you need a break? And I'm like, God, yes, I do. And right there, she was able to put me on orders, and I was able to help out the state of Maryland with the COVID-19 response, and stayed on for some other things and stayed on orders. But it's just cool, like being in an organization that small where you know everybody's personality, that if something's not right, if somebody's not looking at you the right way or acting their baseline, like what is happening in your life and how much they care, versus I've been to other units where they're just like, yeah, whatever, just go do PT.
I mean, that's the difference between leadership and managing people, right?
Yeah.
I had that discussion with my dad. You know, you manage material, you manage things, projects, calendars.
Yeah.
But that true leadership, like you're discussing, is just, I mean, you can't measure that.
Yeah.
It's what every organization wishes they could have, you know?
I think, too, when you're talking about leadership, you're getting down to one of the things that doesn't always happen within the private sector, and just being in a guard unit and finding a leader like that who's, you know, both private sector and military, recognize that type of thing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's because in the private sector, sometimes we don't get into the other side of the human. You know, we don't get into where are you from? What are you about? Let me understand your family. What were your struggles prior to being here? And how can I understand Sean or Red in a way in which I can manage around that? You know, I know that this is a trigger moment, or these are the things that's going to bother him, or these are going to be his strengths or weaknesses along the journey. In the private sector, we get too concerned about either ourselves or we get into the concerns of human resources, quite honestly, and it limits us from being able to do that. So having a leader like that in a guard unit that did recognize that and said, hey, let me figure out a different path for you.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yeah. And not to beat up the private sector too much, because as you were saying that, I was thinking of my first line supervisor in the police department, John, and I'm not going to say his last name, but it's talent management and knowing your men, knowing where to put them, when to put them, put the right person on the seat, on the bus, on the ride that you're going together. Like we have been in situations where he has placed me perfectly. And I wasn't even thinking that because I'm target focused on the mission at hand. He's like, no, I need to put you adjacent over here or something like that. Like understanding. And then my personal life, you know, things, we'll get into that. Like it kind of fell apart a little bit. And I've had direct supervisors be like, hey dude, we need to pull you back, put you on this side of town or whatever, or have you help out in this thing rather than deal with madness.
What was the assignment that you ended up going to then?
Which one?
What was the one that she said, hey, you need a break, and so let's get you on orders?
Yeah, so the first one was just the COVID-19 response. So the National Guard, you know, part of our task is responding to national emergencies. Yeah. So, you know, that was something we all had to deal with, regardless of how you think about it. We still had to go. So we responded to that. And then while I was there, I applied for some other jobs, got that, won't go into details for that, but stayed on orders for about a year doing that. So it's pretty cool.
Gave you a chance to really come on active duty and get away from whatever was going on at the time frame.
Yep. Yeah.
Was it Title 32 AGR program, Active Guard Reserve?
Yes.
That's what it was?
Yep. Nailed it.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
A lot of guys don't know about that thing. So Title 32 is a great opportunity for guys who are in the National Guard who need a chance to go active duty. So you can sometimes serve with an active duty unit, or you can actually serve at the unit that you're at, serving full time.
Yeah.
Like Warrior Training Center at Fort Benning, Georgia, is a great opportunity for soldiers then to go into a training mode. So you end up going to like Ranger School, or you're on the armor side or cav side, you're a master gunner, and you go through that program, and then you end up training others in that capacity. You may stay on for 2-3 longer years, and you go back to your guard unit, and you go back to the private sector.
Yeah, it's not just combat focused stuff either.
Yeah,
right? I mean, I think when I was the SMI at Auburn, our ROTC program had, you know, guard personnel in there also.
Yeah,
from a recruiting standpoint, you know, trying to bring in students.
Yeah,
so.
The Guard does it in Title 32. The Reserve does it under Title 10. And so if you're in a Reserve unit, you want to come on active duty, there are fewer assignments, it seems like, than there are for Guard for Title 32. But you get out of the M day, or basically where they're counting 4 hours for every 4-hour block or whatever, you know, for a weekend type of thing. And you get out of that and you go into, we're going to put you on orders for a year. And what's great about that is that 1 year or 2 years or 3 years counts towards your 20-year retirement.
Correct.
Instead of doing just 1 year, 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. So what a great opportunity it was for you to like check out, get back into
Yeah.
to something else entirely different.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but why not? We're on a podcast. So I've only told this to, I believe, 4 soldiers, and I might as well use this opportunity to share this mindset. And I've had so many people come up to me, so many soldiers, and be like, "Hey, Sergeant Red, I'm thinking about getting out." And a lot of them, I'm like, "Yeah, you should probably get out." Like, sorry, dude, like it's not working out for you. Like, this isn't your home. Like, it's not for everybody. But there are people you shouldn't get out. And the statement I give to them, and I just gave this to a young lad named Nate. I hope he listens. He will. I'm going to send it to him.
You're gonna have, you're gonna make him listen. Make him.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, Master Sergeant. So the way I look at it, it doesn't matter what your job is on the civilian side, what your home life is. You can have the best job, hottest wife, best home, best career, whatever. At some point, it's going to suck. Like, you're going to be like, oh, I got to go to the same place, or I got to drive this stupid Lamborghini every day and go to my dumb hot wife, right? Eventually, you're going to learn to hate that no matter what, because it's just that repetition, that circular logic of I'm just waiting to go on vacation again in the Hamptons. Ooh, did it last year. But the cool thing about the National Guard and Reserve is 1 week in a month. If your job really does suck, you get to take a little break. You get to put on a new costume, a new uniform, almost be a whole different person, have a different rank, and you get to come back to your civilian life, how good or bad it is, completely refreshed. It's also a nice little paycheck. That's your car payment or whatever. And so even if your National Guard job sucks, which happens, at least you'll have a good attitude to go back to your civilian job.
Yeah.
So it's just a great reason to stay in. And don't let those bad units completely taint your experience, because that'll happen. Just right, you can't fight the ocean, but you can learn how to surf, and you'll get out of it. There'll be better experiences, and in the end, you get yourself a nice little retirement as well.
Yeah, the benefits.
Yeah,
It's that's a really, really good point. I think a lot of people get caught up in their present.
yeah,
And they have a hard time trying to figure out. And I laughed when you talked about, you could have the Lamborghini and the hot wife.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely correct. I mean, there was that joke out there, is behind every attractive person is their partner who's tired of their shit.
yes,
Right. It's the monotony. That was a good thing about the Army, is every 2-3 years you're moving someplace else. I mean, the military in general. So you get to change your legacy every time you move. Hey, if you sucked here, you can make it better over there.
100%.
I think that's why it's hard for a lot of us to transition, because you get out and you're just like, okay, here I am.
Yeah.
Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What do I do with my hands? So
Well, back in the day, going to the Reserve and Guard meant predominantly, prior to, I think, GWAT, there had never been an active duty call up since, I think, World War II of Guard and Reserve members on a large scale.
Yeah.
And so, the sell was by recruiters was, hey, you're going to go into the reserves, but you'll never get called up. They never get called up or anything. That changed for sure, right?
it does.
Mega.
But also, it's a great, like you said, it's a great transition thing for individuals who, you're coming off active duty and you're thinking, oh man, there are parts of this that I really enjoy. There are parts I don't. What a great transition that a lot of these guys don't think about.
Yeah.
So
Some of the coolest stories I heard, I didn't mean,
no, you're good.
but some of the coolest stories I heard is, about 2018, I'm at Camp Dalkey, Southern Shank for a lot of you guys and gals.
Dalkey was a good friend of mine.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's always a tie-in, right?
Yeah.
So we were at Dalkey, and I remember having the guard unit there, and I love hearing the stories about what they do other than, right? You see them as specialist so-and-so or airman so-and-so, then they come and talk to you like, yeah, I'm a detective with, and I've been with them for such and such years. And you're just like, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you really get to learn people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened next?
Yeah. So the next big thing I got was jump master school. So I went to Utah, I believe it's
Civil Affairs asked you to go through that? Or?
no. At this, so yeah. All right, I skipped the spot. Thank you. So I didn't realize that I was going through a selection. It was more of an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tricky.
Yeah.
So special. And so after like 3 months or something, I'm like cross training with this special operations detachment, and somebody's like, "Did you have your interview with Pat?" And I'm like, "My interview?"
Yeah,
like, no.
On the jump site when you snapped at the parade rest.
I was like, "No, I don't think I've had an interview." And they're like, "Have you been talking to Pat?" I'm like, "Yeah, every drill weekend." And they're like, "Yeah, that's your interview. You passed. If he's talking to you, you passed. You're in the unit."
That's
like,
awesome.
all right. So I guess that's their way. I mean, there's multiple special operations detachments, so however anybody does it, and I guess that's how my unit did it. And then I was assigned to the unit, and I was like, sweet, I get to put my tan beret back on, like, because it's a USASOC unit, and I'm like super proud of that thing. So yeah.
Which is pretty damn sweet when you think about it, that you do get a chance to wear that thing.
Yeah, I've had to explain myself on the internet.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier today. So let's go through, like, why did they decide to send you to Jump Master? Was it because they needed the slots within the command, or?
We definitely need Jump Masters. It's an airborne unit. Yeah. So we jump all the time. Like,
do you really?
Yeah, we'd schedule, you got 11 drills a year. You've got 9 to 10 airborne operations, not just jumps, airborne operations scheduled. We schedule that many because of weather, aircraft, who knows what, hand of God. So yeah, they sent me to Jump Master school. And I went to the USASOC course in Utah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Love Utah.
Yeah.
That is the place to learn. And it's just so beautiful there. So I got there. It was all Green Berets, and it was me and another Ranger. And the other Ranger was from the S1 from Yuma, from the free fall school.
Nice.
And this dude, like, is a free fall S1 Ranger dude, like, who's like, all he does, he's just a jumpy boy. He just jumps a lot. And he and I were like, oh, Ranger. Okay, cool. So like we paired up, and we got each other through it. And not to sound too braggadocious, but here we go.
Go ahead.
I got my go at pre-jump conditions. So that Friday before test, I was done. I had an entire week off. So I went up into the mountains and hung out. I was like, this is awesome. And I got it my first time. I got exactly 5 minutes. I got all the majors, all the minors, and they were like, they screwed with me too. They messed with me. They were like, yeah, Red, like 5 minutes exactly. Good job. And they're like, you missed one major. And I'm like, oh, and he's doing it and he's like, show me what it was. And it was some BS. And I was like, let me practice it. And it was like, and I practiced it, and he turned around. He's like, congratulations, Jump Master. And dude, I was like crying. I ended up hugging the 3 paratroopers that were in. I was like, oh, they're going to bitch. It was ridiculous. But, yeah, that's like one of my career highs, like becoming a Ranger, becoming a sniper, becoming a Jump Master. These are the things that really, like, I love the work. Like, the work is what motivates me. And being a Jump Master is one of the funnest things. I got to do a lot of really cool jumps. There's a thing called Leap Fest in Rhode Island. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
So it's an international parachute competition that the Rhode Island National Guard puts on. Such a cool event. I must have JMPI'd over 500 paratroopers. And yeah, that was hard work. My fingers were falling.
Static line.
Yeah.
The whole thing is static line?
Yeah. Oh, well, they have some free.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, holy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole competition is static line.
Okay.
And they have some free fall dudes in the beginning that basically put on a demonstration. But what a great time, like, with all those and you earn your international jump wings.
Just about that.
At the same time frame. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the last day they have a wing exchange, and they have a lottery of who you're going to get. And I won the Netherlands, which is really cool because I'll get in my deployment later. I was deployed with the Netherlands SEALs, and I learned a little bit of their goofy language. And so I was practicing, like, "Havalas," and saying all this weird Dutchy stuff. And then I ended up missing my chalk because I was JMPIing everybody. And I'm like, I missed my chalk. And they're like, we can get you on the next bird. It's Italian. And I was like,
Oh,
all right,
nice.
Italian's cool.
Get another set of jumpers.
So I get on the bird. I'm the #1 jumper, and the jumping JM is the Italian guy. And one of the last things you do is you call it the wind call. You go 3 knots, right? So it was only 1 knot. So he does it 1 knot. And I'm right about to turn, and then he does one more command that I didn't expect. It must have been an Italian thing, but he just goes, "Is a good." So I call out the wind call to my chalk, like, 1 knot is a good. But it was a super cool jump because we actually jumped under meteorological conditions. It was raining. Yeah, so cool. And we had an 06 sign off on it. So we're doing ramp blast out of a 47, which is a helicopter. And so I exited, and I'm exiting into clouds. Canopy opens up, check canopy gain, canopy control. I'm like, and I immediately put on the brakes just because I love it so much. I'm just having a great time up there. And then the rain is like trickling down on my parachute.
No way.
I feel like I'm camping, like I'm a Boy Scout in the sky or something. I don't know, it's weird.
No viz?
Well, I passed through the clouds and then I had viz.
Yeah.
But it was super cool. Like no wind. I hit this farm and it was just soft, and the parachute landed on top. I was like a little baby curled up in my parachute. Like, this is great. What a great time.
So what wings did you end up getting then through that?
The Italians.
So you get just those two is what you...
No, just the Italians, because I missed the Netherlands because I was still doing JMPI duties.
So they didn't give it to you. You didn't get a chance to...
Didn't get to jump with them.
Oh, man.
Because of the weather conditions and the 06 having to sign off, we could only do 1 pass of each bird.
Dang, that's spurred up, man.
It's still really, really cool experience.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get back on jump status and I'll be able to help them out again.
Yeah. So you weren't able to ever go back and do it again?
Well, I ended up getting injured last year, and because of that, I was off jump status.
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Eventually.
What's my list to look at?
Yeah. So the next thing we want to get into is your deployment.
Yeah, deployment. So I can't talk about exact location, size, capability, that type of thing, but it was a special operations advisory group. Basically my job there was I was running a NATO sort of ODA camp. We had about a handful of folks there, but we had multiple nations and all their operators from their said country. So like we had the Polish Grom. I worked with them a lot. Those guys are amazing, absolute professionals. The Netherlands SEALs, same thing. And basically anybody else at that high tier level. And we were helping out the host nation, bring up their special operations. So we had we had snipers going out. We had motorcade operations. The Italians were doing stuff with low-vis motorcade. Yeah, it was a really cool deployment. Basically, I just ran the camp, and it was me. I had a Green Beret commander and 2 other Americans from my unit, and then we had 2 American ODA guys there as well.
No,
Sorry, not ODA, EOD.
Was the Italians the Cole Michon or Cole whatever?
I don't know. They're
SF.
Yeah, they never wore a uniform. So
is that right?
Yeah, they were always.
Oh, then they're probably higher than that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Got my my gold shoot sneer while I was there.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. I was not planning on that either.
Yeah.
Like, because we had a range right by our little compound, so people would hit me up all the time, like these folks from NATO, like, "Hey, can we hit your range?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So these Europeans were like, "Hey, we're gonna bring some Germans over and we're gonna do this shooting thing," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." So I brought my medic with me, and so Jeff and I went over there and I was like, "Hey, can my medic and I shoot this thing? Like, it looks kind of cool." And they're like, "Oh, yes, Sergeant Major. We brought the ammunition for you too." And I was like, "All right, cool." So we're both shooting and we're both doing pretty well. And I love shooting pistol. And the Europeans really weren't all that good at pistol. And I ended up getting a crowd of them watching me shoot because I shot a perfect score. And they were like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "Well, we have guns in America.
Yeah.
And we use them a lot.
We have a lot.
Yeah, a whole lot. Yeah.
For the Americans, it's usually the machine gun.
Yeah.
Let me back up. So he's talking about the Schützenschnur. It's the German shooting rope. It's their weapons qualification.
Yeah.
And
usually a blue rope with a badge on it.
It's silver with the badge.
Silver with the badge.
So you'll get
that's right.
Gold,
silver,
bronze, or silver.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody was fighting for silver because they said it looked the best on the
I heard that too. Yeah. I got a gold though, so first place. Damn. Shouldn't have.
You get Yeah, thanks, Red. No, it's whenever because those opportunities, especially now, are few and far between. Just 100%. Because our footprint over there in Europe isn't as large.
Smaller, yeah.
But and they can shoot the hell out of that machine gun. Pistol, not so much.
Right.
But that machine gun is just like like, oh, that was 15 rounds.
Yep. It's like a runaway machine gun. Just let it go.
You breathe on it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, shoots and snoring.
Yeah. So I earned that while I was there. The deployment itself was a very long deployment. It was supposed to be your typical 4-month or 120 day special operations mission. And then it just like, as we were getting closer, it just kept extending. And eventually it became very long. Not my longest, but a very long deployment. And I got to say to all those veterans out there that deployed as a parent, that was my first time deploying as a parent. And that broke my heart. That was really, really difficult. Like I miss my daughter so much. And I made these rules prior to going because I didn't want her to develop like some type of complex if I couldn't talk to her one day because of, obviously rockets or whatever, but, more obvious on our end, the power goes out. So I only would talk to her I would only FaceTime like once a week, and it was brutal, but I had to make that that mature decision to not screw up my kid. As all parents try to do. Yeah,
well, a lot of people don't understand the whole thing about post-traumatic stress and those types of things, and it becomes second and third.
Yeah,
wives, kids, they pass it on type of thing too. So, any type of trauma, and it could be something that you didn't think was very major, like you're talking about, just a deployment, not talking, not hearing.
Right,
they're worried, they have anxiety, the whole bit, and then
So we got spoiled too. I mean, once you start with the earlier deployments, you have to use the phone center or you have a SATCOM, right? But then as we start to go on, they have the cell phones, but then they would do a blackout. Yeah. If there was any casualties, they would do the blackout. And you may not know who it is. It could be in the South. It could be whatever, but they'll do a complete clown's blackout. What do you tell your family, right? So, that's tough.
Yeah. What happened after that? What happened after your deployment?
After deployment, I came home and I had a bunch of leave. So went out to Alaska, did some hunting, went to Texas, did some hunting from a helicopter for wild
boars.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was very interesting. Like I never thought I'd want to, like I'm not a hunter, like I'm a sniper, but I'm not a hunter, which I guess is weird.
Yeah.
But that was really cool.
Down in near San Antonio?
I'm not really sure where it was. It was a thing called Heroes for Helicopters or Helicopters for Heroes, something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, my XO from Ranger Battalion from active duty reached out to me randomly and is like, hey, remember that thing in Afghanistan you did? I'm like, you got to be more specific, sir. It's like, the ambush that we put you in all those awards and you only got a ARCOM with V because you were a specialist and you killed all those people and brought in those 2A10s. I'm like, oh yeah, that thing. He's like, all right. He's like, I'm going to type something up and send it to you. You got to confirm that's actually what you did. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So he sent it to me and I'm like, yep, that's what I did. He's like, I'm putting you in for this thing where you'll get recognized and flown to Texas. And I won. And
that's amazing.
And it was very cool.
What'd you get to shoot? What kind of rifle do you have?
It was just a M4 by his private company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right? Just an M4?
Yeah.
With scope on?
I don't know. I got a video. We'll watch it later.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll include it as part of the feed. B-roll.
You should have just said iron sights and just not shown the video, and that would have been even better, right?
Hey, can we cut this? But the pilots were really amazing. Like, I don't know what kind of whiz-bang helicopters they were using, but they were like these real weird things. But these pilots were getting map of the earth, just a foot off the ground, and they I didn't have to stalk, I didn't have to lead. They were going with the swine. I was just holding out, going It was so rad.
Wow.
Yeah. Very cool.
Was it the little pocket helicopters, or was it like a bigger?
It was like a 4-seater.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Sikorsky or right, one of those. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I've seen them, and I'm actually seeing them do that. I think one year, I want to say that's the same organization that also gave away cars.
I believe it.
Once a year.
Yeah, there was a lot of celebrities there, and I don't know celebrities at all, so I had no idea who they were. I was just like, hey, how you doing?
I think you're here for me. They probably hurt their feelings.
Probably. Yeah. At least I didn't injure them.
Damn it, Red. Didn't ask anybody for their autographs. They were probably totally pissed.
I know. Sorry, guys.
Some dead animals, though.
A lot of them. A whole lot of them.
So did you eat good?
Yeah. Some good Texas barbecue.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, very cool. After that, you ended up doing, I guess, a broadening assignment. Is that around the time frame, or?
Yeah. So, I ended up getting promoted. I ended up becoming a master sergeant. So that was pretty cool. Never really saw that coming. I was like, oh, all right. Well, unfortunately, with that, you get your broadening assignment or your charter. I think they call it in the regiment, charter time.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So with that, thankfully I got sent to another detachment. So it's the same size. I'm used to that. I'm used to the 06 command. I'm used to more mature people because I'm the epitome of maturity, as you can tell. And, so yeah, I got there. It is a liaison detachment. I'm not really sure what they do. But I think I'm the sergeant major.
I think they liaise.
Yeah, a lot of liaising. They look at map overlays from NATO nations and deconflict. That's pretty much how it's been explained. But we haven't really done any exercises yet, so I'm kind of speculating.
Yeah.
I think that's what they do, but it's a whole bunch of eggheads, and it's hard to keep track of what they're doing. I just count the people, and whatever the commander wants, I make sure it happens. And I guess you're the sergeant major. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
those
Sean
days.
did. Yeah.
I used to be cool.
So, but you're also looking now for an airborne slot again, right? You're trying to.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Now that the broadening assignment's coming to an end, we got an exercise coming up that should be like my last hurrah. I'll be done with my broadening, like my commitment to that broadening assignment. So any airborne unit out there, specifically USASOC, best case scenario for me, looking for an E8 USASOC jump master, sniper, master combatives instructor, all around good guy.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah. Just reach on out.
Yeah.
And have parachute will travel.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about, I mean, you got a cool beard and everything right now, but let's talk about also some of the scarring and stuff, because that's brand new. What the hell happened there?
Yeah, so that was a bad day. That was a real bad day. That was December 1st. Not this past, but the one.
23.
Yeah. So, so ridiculous. So I had my SWAT training in the morning. And prior to this, unfortunately, my marriage fell apart. It wasn't anything bad. It just ended. And we're both pretty mature about the thing, and we understand the focus is our daughter, and we're doing it the right way, which I'm very thankful for, because it could have gotten nasty.
Yeah.
But I moved out. I had what I call my Rocky 5 moment, and Rocky like loses the mansion and goes to the burbs and like goes to the row home. Yeah, I got a row home now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Back in the gym all the time.
You working out with logs and stuff, or is that the different rock? Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the one.
I remember.
Yeah, it's in the snow.
Have you fought a Russian yet? Not yet.
Not yet.
All right.
Yeah,
That's the next. That's
the next contract I go on. Wait, delete that. So, yeah, I had my SWAT training in the morning. Let me go a little bit early. I went and picked up my daughter and picked her up from school. And then I took her out to the park and played and dropped her off at her mother's house. And it was a nice day. So I'm on my way home, and I stop at a restaurant by my house, get a burger, and gonna go home, smash that burger, go to bed, get ready for work the next day. And as I was crossing the street, a small white like sedan ran the red light. It was barreling down on me, and I got my burger in my hand. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. So I step it up, and I'm running across the street trying to get to my truck. We had to measure a bunch of things to like recreate what happened, because the last thing I remember is running from that vehicle. My what we assume happened is my right foot got caught in a train track that was crossing the road, and I launched headfirst into the track bed. And the way I launched headfirst in the track bed, because the food was in my right hand and my left hand was empty, I blocked with my left hand, and it rotated my body around in such a way that a horizontal bolt in the train track, which is approximately 4 inches, entered my face. right next to my eye, right there. And it impaled me. So when this happened, somebody happened to be walking by. We have no idea how long I was down for, but somebody walked by and they looked down into the track bed. And they're like, huh, there's a dead guy there. So they walked across the street into the restaurant, told the bartender, said, hey man, somebody just dropped a body in the track bed. Bartender went across and looks in and goes, that bitch is dead. Yes. So he calls 911, says, yeah, somebody just dumped a body here. There's blood everywhere. He's not moving. This is bad. Like, all right, we're sending police and EMS. So they're waiting. And as they're waiting, the train starts to come through. This intersection the train doesn't stop and there's no lighting. It's like 7 o'clock at night. It's dark. So this guy, this bartender, Dan, he's yelling at me, get over here. Help me pull this guy off. He literally pulled me off the bolt. I was still impaled in the face. And he pulled me off the bolt, flipped me over, and he told me after, he's like, oh my God, it's Red. Somebody tried to kill him and dumped his body. So he said, get back on 911. Said it's an officer. Somebody tried to kill him. He said when he flipped me over, he could see my skull in 3 different places. My face was filleted open. He said he didn't know what to do. So he grabbed my face by like the cheek, ear area and squished my face back together. And he just held it in place. And that's when I woke up. And I woke up and everything was in the shade of red. And I didn't know why. And it's because my eye sockets are filled with blood. And I see Dan above me and he looks really upset. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I hope Dan's okay. He seems really, really upset right now. And he's freaking out and he's making all this noise and he looks over his left shoulder and it was the weirdest thing. My ears turned on. I heard nothing. And then my ears turned on. Dan turns over his left shoulder and says, I don't think he's going to make it. And he turns back and I look up at him and I go, Dan, your bedside manner sucks. And he goes, oh my God, he's alive. So they got me to crash trauma at the hospital, went into emergency surgery. I had a fractured skull, pulverized eye socket, broken jaw. I had 2 arterial bleeds. I was bleeding out. I had some spinal damage. It was really, really bad. And, I found out I have no reaction to fentanyl. Like they tried to give me some for the pain. And the guy comes in, he's like, hey man, how you feeling? 1 to 10. And I'm like, what's 10? Like the worst? He's like, yeah. I was like 15. He's like, all right, cool, man. I'm going to help you out. Enjoy the ride. And he shoots me up in the central line with some fentanyl. And he comes back. He's like, how you feeling? I'm like, what did I say last time? 15? He's like, yeah. I was like, 18?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no. And he's like, I got to give you some more. So he gives me some more. He comes back again. He's like, how you feeling? I'm like, I can feel all the pain. And he goes, I got bad news for you, dude. Like, you're immune to fentanyl. I'm like, well, that's good news and bad news. I don't have to worry about an addiction in the future.
Shitty junkie.
Yeah, really bad. So they ended up just giving me some Dilaudid, but that just made me sleepy. And I was in surgery pretty much all night. The surgeon they used, the plastic surgeon, he ran out of stitches at one point. He had to run around the hospital trying to find more stitches and staples. And the Novocaine wore off at one point. And
shit.
Yeah, I remember like sitting there and he's tugging away, doing his stitches, listening to his goofy music. And I was like, hey doc, I don't mean to be a pain in the butt here, but I felt those last 2 stitches. And he's like, no way. And he takes the needle and stabs me. I'm like, ow, please stop doing that.
It's a burning feeling.
And he looks at the clock and he's like, oh, biscuits. Yeah, it's definitely worn off. So they had to give me some more. And so I'm in the hospital for a couple of days and they tried giving me some more drugs and I refused them. I was like, yeah, I don't want that stuff, man. And they were being very insistent. So I called my buddy Sloan, and I was like, dude, you got to get me out of here. So I got myself out of there with my buddy Sloan. But
you look great, man.
Thanks.
The plastic surgery did a great
He really did. He really did.
Mr. Biscuits himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But let's go back because you told me prior to all of this, and this is the first time we heard this part of it.
Yeah.
You showed me the video or the pictures and such, but this is the second time that you've died.
Yeah. Yeah. So The first time was when I was 18 and I was a bike messenger in Philadelphia. And what I'd realized is modern kids don't know what bike messengers are because I guess they don't exist anymore.
I wanted to be one when I grew up.
You wanted
to
to
ask my parents.
Nice. Well, I was one and it was a bad idea.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I remember I was crossing Spring Garden Street in Philadelphia and a woman ran a red light and broadsided me on my bicycle, broke the bicycle in half. My head went in the windshield, bent the steering wheel. I flipped over, crushed the hood, went up in the air, hit the ground, went in convulsions, stopped breathing, heart stopped. I had to be revived on the street. So that was the first time.
Well, okay, so that's a lot of damn shit. Then that's a second head injury as well, and skull.
That I could remember. Yeah, I probably had some more too.
Yeah. But let's get into, like, you said something like, because there's a freaky side too, because you died of what you experienced, like, on the other side.
Yeah.
And without getting into like a deep shit, but
No.
I'm really curious. Yeah. I'm really curious about that.
So for me, I believe all experiences are different. I don't know. There was this absolute sense of peace and calm, and this like darkness that, like, you just know you're not on this planet anymore. You're not part of this world. And it was just absolute peace. And I know that I died on Spring Garden Street. I had the medical records to prove it. And I felt that same exact feeling on the train tracks. So again, I don't know how long I was down. I don't know how long I was out, but yeah, I was away for a little bit.
So the white light, you see that?
No white light.
No white light.
So
yeah, no voices, no nothing, no meeting family members. Nope. Some people experience those types of things, and
no. Here's the crazy thing about all this.
Oh, there is a crazy part.
So I recently have become a Christian.
Yeah.
And I'm getting baptized soon. So like I found God during
Congratulations.
Thank you. Found God during deployment. Never thought. And like people who know me, have grown up with me, like they're gonna be like, no way. I'm like, no way, dude. I totally found God. It's awesome. And it just happened. And like during deployment, I would go to mass every Sunday, but I would go to another nation's mass. Why? Because I can't understand a daggone thing they're saying. And I'm there for a spiritual reason, not for somebody to tell me how to live my life. I know how to live my life. So now, like, I go to mass in Philadelphia. I go to Latin mass. Why? Because I can't speak Latin. So I'm there for a purpose. Anyway, it took me a little bit to realize what was happening. So I was being overly aggressive at work as a policeman. I'm a very stoic person. Even when I'm fighting people, like, I don't use foul language. I don't punch people. I don't get aggressive. I'm very calm. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for over 15 years. I'm a jiu-jitsu brown belt, very competent on the ground. So I found myself doing a little bit too much. And I'm like, this isn't me. And I found myself cursing. And I'm like, that's not me either. Like, something's wrong. So what I came to the conclusion was the bolt, me being impaled, was God's way of sitting me down and saying, look, dude, your life is kind of falling apart right now. You're going through divorce. You didn't see that coming. All these bad things are happening. You need to sit down with me and figure out life again. So this is going to be your hard reset. So that's what I truly think it was, because I think going out of that experience, I could have easily said, woe is me. Oh, this is horrible. Why me? No, it happened because it's me. It happened because he knows that I can take it. I could take that pain, get a lesson out of it, and come out stronger on the other side.
Wow. That's deep stuff, man.
Yeah.
And from all the things that you've been through, career, whether it was all the deployments, the lives that you saw lost, being a police officer, seeing much the same thing on a daily basis. Maybe it's exactly what you said. It was, all right, it's time to reboot. It's time to reset. It's, we're going to do this right this time around.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm over here crying.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from your story. I broke my neck in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And, the epiphany, the invisibility complex goes away.
Yeah.
So, no, I get it.
Yeah.
But good for you.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went out injured. Spent about a month or so sitting at home, playing with my cats. I have cats.
I wouldn't have figured you were a cat guy.
Well, one's a Savannah cat. It's like an F7 from Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other,
that makes more sense.
yeah. The other one's a domestic cat pound cat. And you'd think like the Savannah cat from like Africa would be, no, the domestic one's the badass.
See, I'd see you from like a Malinois or, or the
Yeah. I
German Shepherd.
I travel too much for that.
I got Yorkies.
Wiener dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
you called me and there was something that you really wanted to talk about, because I think it's a great segue into like understanding other human beings and compassion and stuff that you just described. And in the Great Reset, it was more also, I think, about, this calmness. And you've always had the calmness. I mean, even 5 years ago when I met you, you were just a really calm dude. There's no doubt about it. And not really aggressive or anything like of that nature. But something happened in an event that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
You mind sharing that?
Yeah, no problem at all. So I took some cliff notes just because it is an important story. And for as long as I can remember in my adult life, I had this question in my head. If you could have a billboard on like I-95, you could put whatever message you want on there, show it to all these, put it up there for 1 month, but you can't have your name on it. You can't get any credit. What would you say to all these people? What free message would you share? Nothing in return at all. And that message has changed over the years. Like when I was younger, it was selfish things, sometimes rude things. And then as I became older, more altruistic, like I thought of things of how to help people. And then I started thinking about this podcast, and this is kind of like a modern billboard. I'm putting this out there, and I'm not putting this out there as a good job, Red. You did a good thing. This is something to be put out there for everybody who's suffering in silence, because there's a lot more than people realize. I heard some horror stories of great rangers and how they died, and I did not know, and I just found out about it a couple days ago, and it sucks. And how many friends we've had to put into the ground through addiction, through bad decisions, through not surrounding yourself with the core five, and something we've talked about before, like having that support structure and leaning on them and checking on your boys, doing exactly what Chief Kestner did for me. So yeah, I'll go into this story. So we got a call for a veteran in crisis, and the call was vague at best. And I was the first one to respond simultaneously. We had a massive structure fire. So almost every cop is dealing with that, evacuating people. So it's me and one other guy. So we're dealing with this. As I pull up to the house, I'm going to respond. He has the girlfriend at a different location. So she's the one who called. Excuse me. As I pull up, I decide to open up the computer and read the notes, because the dispatch put it out nebulously. Like there wasn't enough information. It was a very vague call. But then I opened it up and I'm reading, and it's bad. It's really, really bad. I'm not going to go into the details, but it was bad enough that I was not going to drive up in a police car out front of this dude's house. So I offset my vehicle. I kept the running lights on, which are the solid red and blue lights. And I got my rifle and I offset myself. And I got on the radio and I basically said, I need every SWAT officer to my location immediately, offset to where I'm at, and I'll emplace you. So sure enough, that's what I got by every officer. I got them. We set up a perimeter. I put my guys using intersecting sectors of fire. I wanted real-time updates as what was going on inside the building too. I know this guy's going through a crisis. I don't know what level though. And there were firearms involved. So this is bad. So my boss comes up. He's like, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, he's a veteran. According to the notes, he has PTSD. He's been drinking. There's implied weapons involved. There might be more. We don't know. I cannot walk up to this house with guys with rifles. I don't know what level he's at. He might just start shooting through the door, and I don't want to do this to this man. He goes, okay. So he gives me the supervisor phone, We get the number from his girlfriend. I start calling. I must have called 12 times, and then he finally picked up. This guy picked up, and I go, hey, identify who I am. And I go, can you come outside and talk to us without your gun? And he goes, I can do that. I was like, thank you. Please walk out your front door and do exactly what we tell you. And he's like, I understand. I was like, okay. Bring him outside. I handled it exactly like an EPW search. I walked him out, had him bring his shirt up, do his 360, down on his knees, commands. I had my arrest team come in, take him into custody. Great. As soon as they took him into custody, I said, this is my guy. I am going to deal with him. So I had the rest of the team go inside and clear the house because we don't know what else is going on in the house. I take him back to the paddy wagon and I sit him down, and I did something I've never done before. I got in the wagon with him and I sat down directly across from him. I looked him straight in his eyes and I said, what is going on? He explained to me that he is recently separated from active duty after 26 years of service. He is a lieutenant colonel. I go, okay. And he goes, I have PTSD. I've been drinking all day. It's been getting worse and worse. It's like, all right. Would you admit you have a problem? He's like, yeah. It's like, so you got a drinking problem. So we're going to address that today. He said, okay, great. And I was like, so what did you do? And he told me the division he was in, pretty big division. And I go, hey man, I know what you're going through because I've been there. I'm currently a master sergeant in the National Guard. I spent 6 years, 9 months, 24 days of active duty as an assaulter in Ranger Battalion. And as soon as I said that, it changed. He's like, you're a Ranger? I'm like, I am a Ranger. And he's like, oh. So then we started sharing stories about deployments. And then I said, yeah, I know what you're going through, man, because you spent the past 26 years of your life following a certain set of rules, understanding that world. And then all of a sudden it's over. And now you're back in this area that does not have the military support that you would think that we would have. You are completely alone. Everybody else, all the peers you grew up with, they were doing stuff for this past 26 years too. They were honing their craft while you were honing your craft. And what you did for our country, I'm going to take care of you. But I understand what's happening and I've been there. And it was the weirdest thing because I was talking to this guy and I felt like I was talking to myself. And so with that, I had to do something with him. Like I already made the decision. I'm not pressing charges against this guy. Unless the other people involved wanted to have us press charges, my focus was to get this guy help. He needed that help. After 26 years, a lieutenant colonel, he deserves it. So I started phone calls, and I'm calling everybody I know. I'm calling everyone I know in different organizations. And I ended up reaching out to this one organization. This is a big one that I wanted to share. It's called Warm Hands. Warm Hands. So it's out of the VA. And a lot of times in these situations, we got to put them in a crisis area in the township or the city. And those areas are not good. And especially for a veteran, right? You're basically locking them up with insane people. And so I contacted this guy at Warm Hands, and I'm driving to the hospital to drop off this lieutenant colonel. And I was driving slower than I've ever driven in my life. I was taking back roads there, just to make sure everything was in line. And I get there and I link up with the Warm Hands representative from the VA. I tell him what was going on. And he goes, okay. I was like, this is what I want you to do. At this point, I already got the lieutenant colonel a bed and a room. I took the cuffs off. That was like the first thing I did was I'm taking these fucking cuffs off, dude. Like, it's just policy. I have to keep him on for the drive. I got him in his room. I was like, just sit tight, man. And so I tell the representative, I said, hey, there is a rehabilitation center in Havre de Grace, Maryland. I need you to pick him up, take him there directly. And he's like, absolutely. He's like, all right, I got your word. He's like, yeah. I was like, you better, because I got you on videotape the entire time. I got my camera on. And he's like, no, I've got you, dude. So with that, I was like, all right, I feel pretty good about this. And so I walked back in the room and I was like, hey, just so you know, this is what's happening. This man is going to be taking custody of you. You're going to be going to check into a rehabilitation place. And he was working for an ROTC, like he got a job immediately. And he goes, well, I got to pick up my students tomorrow. And right there, I switched from policeman to NCO, and I might have even given him a knife hand. But at that moment, I was like, sir, this is why you have good NCOs. In your absence, we're going to pick it up. We're going to pick up your slack. I want you for the first time in 26 years to be selfish. This is your wake-up call, and it never comes at a convenient moment. Right now is the most important moment of your life, and I need you to think about yourself to become the best version of yourself that you've seen in a long time, because you're going down a dark path, brother, and I need you to get better. And your friends, your family, they need you to get better too. And he's like, okay. And I go, all right, with that, I'm leaving you, and just so you know, no charges pressed against you. God bless you. Get the recovery. That was it.
Wow. I mean, what an incredible story. And for you to be at that moment, again, this is almost like, why were you there? Right.
God.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty incredible that was the event. I think this guy you had told me hadn't been out that long as well.
Yeah, it's only like a week or two.
So, I mean, yeah. How crazy was that?
Yeah. And I did 26 years.
Yeah.
And we joke around, you're like, what do I do with my hands? I spiraled. I got out and I had no idea what was going on.
Yep.
Because you're in charge of things. You're in charge of people. You're in charge of lives. You get the privilege of leading people and mentoring folks, and then all of a sudden, it's done.
Yeah. And nobody outranks that.
Literally.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think people realize that. I don't want to say we, but gentlemen like him, they're not looking for recognition. They don't want attaboys. They want purpose.
Yeah.
Right. They want to be relevant.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find relevancy in this.
Yeah.
In this world outside of that bubble of the military.
How'd you find this foundation anyway, this organization?
I called other police officers that I know are going through recovery programs.
Yeah.
And they just, their network just spiraled out.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Good network.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying, like your profession, and this is the unique thing I think in the military, your profession is your identity. Like that is who you are. It's not just a job, it's your identity. It's like, so when you leave, your identity has been stripped. Suddenly it's gone. And that feeling of alone, of lack of work. What was that Tool song? The Warrior. Oh man. Anyway,
Well, something as simple as the uniform.
yeah,
Putting on the uniform. You know, we talked about that tribal aspect of life.
yeah,
And just the sense of belonging. There's a lot of people that go back to ROTC, whether it's JROTC or working contracting, so they can still be around that.
right.
People go back to the contracting aspect of, the GS position, so they can be around that.
Yeah,
because that's what we're comfortable
Yeah.
with. So it's very difficult to get away from that.
And I knew I would miss it. That's why I stayed in the National Guard and then went reserve in the National Guard. I knew I would miss it. And just this past week, I was down in Savannah. What did I do every day? I was in the Ranger gym every single day, and it's like, it's amazing. It's just getting fuel. Like, yeah, here I'm around the guys again.
Feels like home.
Great. Yeah, it feels like home. Yeah.
It's crazy. I feel the same way, even driving down occasionally to Fort Benning.
Yeah.
And being around soldiers and everything, whether it's inside the compound there at Ranger Regiment or whatever the case may be. It's just one of those things where it's funny though, is like my wife will be the first one that'll be the voice of reason when I come back, and I'll be talking affectionately or warm about it. And she's like, but you're not mentioning all those other times,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the bad times, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever my wife and I go down to Benning, like, okay, so I went to Jake's retirement.
Yeah, okay.
So, went 31 years in, retired Command Sergeant Major, and we just didn't realize that we had a few touch points with other people that we didn't know we had in common. But all, doing that again just brought it all back, and we're just sitting around the table and talking. I can drive around Benning and I'll talk shit about stuff that's happening on Benning, but it's like being a part of a family. Like I can talk shit about my family. You can't.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So just because I talk shit about them, why aren't they mowing the lawn?
Yeah, like mowing the lawn, that bugs the crap out of me.
Right? But at the end of the day, it's my family. I can talk shit about them if I want to.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody else said that,
It's fighting.
you shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the spot.
Yeah.
So no, I get that. It's has the law enforcement community, is there congruency there? Do you get the same feeling?
So it's much smaller. For me, and I mentioned this to the last podcast too, like I did the same thing I did in the Rangers. I might even be doing it better now that I'm older and more mature and I understand the responsibilities and this second and third order effects of my actions or lack of actions. So what I do is that core five, those people you emulate that you want to be like, I follow those dudes, I follow their lead, because in the beginning when I became a cop, I was just trying to be like everybody else. And that, like, quickly I realized that was the wrong answer. Like, no, be the one you want to be like, follow those guys, follow their lead and surround yourself by them. So that's what I did in the police department. That's still what I do today. There's certain folks I won't follow around.
Yeah.
No, it's a great takeaway. I think, we talk a lot about the five and the circle of five of your friends. You are the sum of that, right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't understand what that truly means, but you're hanging around the wrong people, then you're probably going to get messed up.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why. And people have to understand that and cut themselves from that. So if you want to excel and you want to do better, well, change your circle.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So what's going on now, other than looking for a jump master jump position?
Yeah. Nothing really. Just chilling. Yeah.
It says the guy who's done everything.
Exactly.
I was a ranger, and then I did bodyguard overseas. And that was boring, so I did that. And then I got stabbed in the head.
Yeah. By the planet Earth twice.
So now I'm trying to get back on the jump status. So no, life's a little boring.
Yeah, pretty much.
What an asshole.
That could be the title of this episode. What an asshole.
What an asshole. Yeah. Man, that's intense.
Yeah. I was thinking about something from the last episode that I didn't answer properly.
Yeah, what was that?
So,
not understanding Scott when he asked you the question, or
I'll never understand that. Except he talked about the Falkland Islands.
Yes.
See the Falkland Islands?
He didn't like those islands.
Right. Hates those islands. So now somebody asked how I deal with going back to the same place after something traumatic.
Yeah, like a cop, in that post-traumatic stress.
Yeah. And I talked about compartmentalization. And that was kind of a fast answer. I really wasn't ready for that question. I thought more about it. And one of the things that I do is through cognitive behavioral therapy, when responding to like a stressful environment, how do you got to get back to, because you can't relive that. And the reason that I follow that pattern was Gunter in Ranger Battalion. We called him Toad Jumper Gunter. And brother, I hope you're listening to this. He was the skinniest Ranger I've ever seen in my life. And when you have a Toad Jumper, the Universal Static Line Modified, that will be down at the bottom of the door because humans weigh things. Well, he did not weigh things. He was at the top with the rest of the static lines. So they didn't realize he was a Toad Jumper. So he was out there for a minute. So yeah, they went and retrieved the static lines, and as they're retrieving them,
wait, for those who don't understand what that means,
Yeah.
I mean, you're hanging on the thing that's supposed to pull your parachute out didn't disengage, and you're banging up against the
Because
side
he
of the
didn't have the
plane.
weight to yank it out.
yeah,
I'm not laughing at you, I promise.
No. But people who don't understand the
Yeah.
airborne side of this, I wanted to bring that
So
forward.
they pulled him in?
yeah. So as they're pulling the Universal Static Line Modifieds in, they're pulling them in. The JM all of a sudden sees a body, and they were like, "Gunter," and they grab him and they put him down. They give him a general order: "Don't touch your equipment." And he goes, "Haha, just kidding." So pretty awesome.
Oh, man.
So what did they do the next day?
Put him right back on the
Put him
bird.
right back on that bird.
He got you.
Yeah, man, you got to get back on that horse.
How was he?
So he was fine, perfectly fine. You can't let those negative times lament in your brain housing group because it'll just get worse and worse. So I've had a few scenarios on the job. I've had many scenarios. One was a head-on collision that was, I'll tell you more about it when we're off the camera, but it was bad, real bad. And I ended up getting released from the hospital the next day, and I went back to that intersection. I drove through it a couple times. I focused on my breathing, my heart rate, my palms sweating. Like, am I getting tunnel vision? Like, how many times do I got to drive through this thing until it doesn't happen? And it actually didn't happen. I was okay with it. And I think that comes back to my training in the military. And,
Yeah, of course it did.
yeah. And I've had the same things with shootouts. I've showed up to the area where I've had massive shootouts, where I've had bullets whiz by my face. Like, I can't do this in the military because I can't be like, oh, I'm going to go back to the Hindu Kush and walk around the mountains with a dog to see how I feel. Like, can't do it. But in the police world, like, you have to get over that, because if not, like Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman talks about, like, you end up in the black. Once you're in the black, you can't respond emotionally. So you have to get back to that scenario and accept it and figure out a way back emotionally, or you need to start seeing some professional help, start seeing out a way. But thankfully, from the training I've had, I've understand how cognitive behavioral therapy works and how to get back to that area and emotionally accept it and move on.
Such an important message right there. Although that might have been like just a sweet nugget talking about post-traumatic stress from a police officer standpoint and everything. I think for the guys that are listening, gals, whatever, who are struggling, we talked about veteran suicide. You mentioned it earlier. And about the challenges of, like, damn, you just heard something 2 days ago, just the sheer number. And there's not very many days that goes by that it seems like we don't have some kind of message out there on social media of somebody that's made a choice, and it's going to affect their lives, it's going to affect their children long term and everything else. And so how do they deal with it? That's what you're describing. You're describing something that a lot of police officers have to deal with on a daily basis, that some of the military also need to figure out as well. It's also good to talk about it. Don't always compartmentalize it, right? And we're not good at that.
Yeah. I think, and I'd like to get your input on this. There's a time and space, right, where, let's just say Afghanistan, right? You come back from Afghanistan, you know, some stuff has gone down, and everybody's just super happy to be home. And then there's that point in time where you're just like, man, I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
And it's not perverse. You're not a war junkie. It's not necessarily the place, but it's maybe the camaraderie. It's the relevance.
Not having to worry about paying the bills, right, where your meals are going to come from, whatever.
It's simplified.
Yeah.
You know, you got a left and a right limit. Yeah. You have an end state, your discipline initiative to execute, and you're doing that 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it. Yeah. It's like an ADHD person's dream.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you're building a bond through struggle and adversity.
Yeah.
You know, like you see that in athletes, you see that in soldiers, you see that anybody who's been through some shit. Like, the best marriages are the ones that have been through, like, a lot together, right? I think. I don't know. Mine's screwed up.
I don't know. Why don't you tell us?
Maybe don't listen to Red for that.
Yeah, can we delete that?
I mean, everybody talks about, you know, you always remember the hard times. Yeah. The struggles. I mean, obviously you'll remember some good times. But when we sit around the table and we have a drink, we talk about the shit times. Yeah. Remember that one time man, right? So, man, it's tough. I can't even imagine what you go through as a law enforcement officer, though, and because that doesn't give you that time and space that we were talking about. And that's kind of why I wanted your input was, you do need that mechanism, something that, you know, because it's a Tuesday and you got to be back out there on Wednesday.
Yeah. So the good thing about my agency is they are recognizing that, and they are doing proactive steps. So whenever we have major incidents, I won't even go to details, but a major incident, there is a mandatory meeting after where we have trained professionals within our agency, and we sit down and we talk about it. And we talk about everything that's going on, and they're trained to identify, you know, if an officer's really struggling, does he need to go to continuing mental health treatment? And it's not stigmatized like it used to be.
No.
And I think that's a lesson from war that we brought over to the civilian world. That's awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, you see it happen on both sides. You see lessons learned that are in the private sector that gets transferred over. I mean, a lot of the medical stuff went that way and then went back. And I think this is another thing that needs to do that. You know, I mean, we need to do a lot more talking and listening and learning because there are a lot more lives that we need to save, and it's not going to be, there's no magic pill out there that fits everybody. You know, everybody's going to be different in their situation, but I think what you're describing is there are fixes that we can do. Reach out if you got a problem, or be very much aware of your buddies on your left and right limit and what might be going through some struggles, and pay attention. Be eyes wide open in that sense.
Stigma is a big word. That's, I mean, it's definitely what, you know, and this is going to sound corny, but if you watch a lot of the TV shows, and I'm not talking about the realism behind it, but they address that.
Yeah.
I mean, something happens on a TV show and the police officer goes through something traumatic, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, you need to go talk to such and such. And they make that part of the storyline.
Right.
I don't think people understand how important that is for people that are struggling, that feel like they can't go talk to folks.
Yeah.
Might sound corny, probably going to get a couple of comments on it, but from a person as a sergeant major, you know, like Dan Pinion made going to behavioral health a thing.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
No, there were a lot of guys that stood up there. This took a lot later stage, probably after you even got out, where guys would stand out in front of formation and say, hey, I've been getting help myself, and it's time for you guys to rethink what you're going through. And if you're struggling and stuff, don't think it weak of you. Go get some help.
Yeah.
And I didn't go in the beginning because I thought that it would affect my security clearance. Totally not true.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that, because they tried giving me like 80% when I got off active duty. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I still got fight in me, and I don't want to lose my security clearance.
You don't?
I am recently learning, like, nobody advised me when I got out. So now I'm seeking, like, after this deployment, like, this was the first deployment. This is the 10th deployment, probably my last. This is the first time I was honest on a PHR. Like, and I was getting phone calls like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Like, it's been a rough ride. And when I got home, I started looking for therapists. I started paying out of pocket $300 a lesson for this woman because I wanted performance psychology based psychology. So I started seeing this woman, and it's a lot of money. And she was far away. So I started shopping around. I now have a new therapist, but yeah, it's important, like journaling, keeping track of your life. Yeah.
No, it's a great message, and I think it's important from someone who's actually experienced it like yourself that you put that out there. And so, you know, if you're struggling, get some help. It's the bottom line message and everything. Man, I'm so glad that we finally cut back up again.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I reached out or you reached out. I don't remember how it came about. Of course, I think I saw the cool photo that you put out there, and of course we talked about that offline about your flash and everything, which got everybody all excited.
Yeah.
And so it was from that I think it was like, hey man, you need to come back in. I had no idea, one, that 5 years had gone by, and two, so much shit has happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just really glad you everything lined. You happen to be in the AO, so to speak, Savannah, and close enough to come by.
I wanted to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
So I caught up on a bunch of the podcasts, and I noticed like there was one like message going across, and it was like 1% better every day. That was one of the messages I kept hearing over and over again. Many moons ago, I got hired to advise and teach a tier 1 unit. It was a very high unit, and I got selected amongst very unique people to help. And I kept reminding them, hey, I'm not one of these guys, I'm just a ranger. And they're like, we know who you are. And it was very, I was like, hey, thanks guys. Like, and I like to think I brought something to the table, like some unique thought that they didn't think of. That's when I learned something about mindset that Tom K shared with us. And it was the idea of killing your clone. And it's something that I've shared since then. So the idea behind killing your clone is that every night, your version of you from 24 hours comes and visits you right before you go to bed. And that version of you from 24 hours ago, you're going to fight him. You're going to fight him to the death. And if you have done anything within 24 hours to increase your lethality, physically, mentally, tactically, you're eating better than you were yesterday, you read a book on mindset, you went to the range, you shot guns, you know, whatever, then you're going to kill your clone. All it takes is a fraction of that 1%. And the goal is to kill your clone every night. But we live in reality. We're not going to get better every single time, but you got to have more wins than losses. So every night your clone comes to visit you, you're going to kill your clone and become a better version of yourself every single day. And with time and that compound interest, you're just going to keep getting better, keep getting better, keep getting better. Just don't let that clone kill you every time.